Welcome back to today's episode with our beloved guest from last time, Megan Sundra.
Hello. I'm so
Yay.
excited to be back, you guys.
I'm so excited that you shared with us beforehand that the last podcast got you a date. I feel like this is now we're doing something useful.
It's beautiful.
It's a little bit on the spot now because if I was listening, I would be super curious.
Yeah, that's why we're going to just go with that. That's all we need to say.
Okay.
Sorry to shift gears there on you.
So last time we were talking about self-empowerment through somatic awareness, and we talked about practical techniques that we could use to empower ourselves in stressful situations. And today's episode, we were hoping to dive into those techniques.
Yeah, that's right. We covered a lot of ground last time about life circumstances and how things tend to show up and how we kind of innately respond to challenges and stress, and how most of the time it kind of doesn't take us in a positive direction. And I think with these tools you're talking about, it's an attempt to try to kind of shift how we respond and how we can start to take a position of empowerment instead of victimhood relative to these painful, stressful times that we all experience, because that's what it means to be human.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, relationship was a big topic of last time. I think we were just talking about it before the podcast started, but that's one of the dominant aspects of our life is relationship with others and relationship with self. And it's really important to understand what that relationship is and if it's healthy or not.
I think it's really funny that human beings innately are relational beings, and it's my personal judgment. I think most human beings aren't really good at it, mm-hmm. And it's sad.
It took me a long time to begin to heal enough so that I could have a healthy relationship with myself, and it was only then that I could start having a healthy relationship with others. It took probably over 30 years.
Mm-hmm. We are not equipped and we are not educated with the proper tools or self-awareness, in most of the cultures that we grow up in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's why we're here today. We're going to change all that.
I'm super curious what cultures on earth do foster healthy relationship from the get. I bet Japan's probably up there.
That's a good question. We might have to chat GPT that later.
Oh gosh, that's scary. Get you some psychosis. Chat GPT. I was talking to Ian, I read an article about this prominent tech guy that released this big babbling video online because they think he has AI-induced psychosis, which is kind of a thing now.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I had never heard of that before.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, because people are using ChatGPT or these large language model query machines for asking for life advice and asking about all this stuff, and it's kind of scary what's coming out. Mm-hmm. It's driving people insane because it's not like a critical feedback. It's you're kind of getting exactly what you want to hear feedback. So it's enhancing people's paranoia. It's enhancing people's fears. It's telling people to give up their body. There's all kinds of scary stuff out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It sounds like humanity is searching for answers and guidance to work through the things that are causing suffering for them.
That's interesting. We touched on that a little bit last time around like how we respond to suffering, and that our kind of survival makeup makes us kind of try to find ways to get away from it or get rid of it or minimize it. And I'm wondering if that's what the use of AI is about in some ways.
Well, totally. We're super disconnected from grounded techniques. Society does a really good job of basically pulling your mind apart into you're not good enoughness.
Yeah, which was another point we had touched on last time as well, that just how society is and the way in which we respond to things as a result of that. Mm-hmm. And I love that the intention here is to take this ground that the foundation that we created from the last conversation we had and kind of move from there and all the intellectual, conceptual stuff and into real clear, practical application that I think is going to be simple enough that anybody could actually resonate with and attempt to apply, and hopefully make a difference in how they're experiencing their world, their life, their relationships.
So a good way to prompt that is, what do you do when you get really stressed? We're here to talk about things you can do in those situations today.
Yeah. Well, and actually, before we get to that, that just reminded me of, I think it was you, Ryan, last time that really talked about, thank you, about like just the recognition first of recognizing, oh, I'm stressed, or oh, I'm frustrated, or I'm fearful, or I'm angry, or whatever that is, and being able to identify that is actually what the experience you're having.
Yeah.
We talked about, I remember we talked about like getting clear about labeling it, and maybe then getting clear about where am I experiencing that in my body? What is the sensation that actually, like how would I label that? And all of these were these simple, like foundational approaches to get present.
Yeah.
And I believe that where we're going to go is about these tools are really going to all be about presence, like how to build or amplify our presence.
One thing that I really loved when I was studying integrated health and wellness coaching was a question I read in whatever text I was reading, but it asked, where is your breath? That was the whole thing. It said, have you lost track of your breath? Because if you've lost track of your breath, good chances you're in fight or flight mode. So how much of the day do we go through our life not really aware of where we are at because we're so focused on the external world, that deadline, this child, this significant other, this bill, this project, and I realized when I was learning about that when I get stressed, I'll tend to hold my breath. I'll start to breathe really shallow, which then exacerbates the stress response itself. And I was like horrified by it. I was like, I don't know how much I actually breathe.
Right. Well, and that's the thing about our physiology that is so masterfully designed. Like, we shorten our breath because it helps our body be ready to react. And yet we aren't conscious of it. We can become conscious of it, and then if we alter the way we breathe, we can actually change our physiology. And it's amazingly powerful how something that simple of becoming present of our breath and then intentionally choosing to breathe in a certain way changes our physiology.
Our emotional state.
And exactly. Yep. And that's that's why I kind of love this topic, is because of how potent it really can be.
Yeah.
And then when we overlay that on some of what we were talking about last time about relational stress and challenges, intimacy, loss of connection, maybe senses of abandonment, all of these things that really trigger and activate like these deep core sense of wounding or fear or loss or aloneness. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. I got that. And I can still operate if I bring in this insight and awareness that I have, or in particular, like what we're going to talk about, or a particular tool, I can still alter that. I don't have to be, in a sense, a victim to my own physiology and mental, like churning.
I think that's the very core of mindfulness, is the knowledge that no matter what is happening in our life, whatever stimulus we're experiencing, or whether it's a memory or an actual thing happening, is we always have a choice. It doesn't feel like that, but we do.
Right.
We do. Would this be a good time to talk about some breathing techniques?
Yeah. I wanted to affirm about when you were talking earlier about how relationships are, the source of 90% of our suffering, because we're such relational beings, evolutionarily speaking. The experience of getting ourselves out of fight or flight and the tools that can help us out of that are so crucial to know for the purpose of making your relationship cause you less suffering.
Right.
If we're going to focus on romantic relationships, obviously my wheelhouse, so much of the suffering that happens within them, which some of it's natural. It's okay. Like relationships aren't supposed to be perfect and sunshine and butterflies all the time. But so much of it is unnecessary or could be avoidable if we could attune to self in times of distress.
Yeah.
Which is almost always conflict or the things that lead up to a conflict where
Or
someone's getting
perceived.
frustrated or whatever.
Yeah, like you think something's going to happen or think, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And how we're not thinking it with our rational mind. Literally, the prefrontal cortex, when we're under a state of stress in the fight or flight response or leading up to it, our brains literally stop giving blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, the center of our rational thinking and future planning and groundedness in
Isn't that
our
where our
consciousness.
risk assessment comes from too?
I think so.
Yeah.
And so if that part of your brain is literally getting less blood than the other parts, particularly the amygdala, you can't use it that well or at all, basically. So we can consider that it is shut down and we don't have access to our better selves, our thinking, conscious, and conscientious selves. And therefore, there's no point in progressing in the conflict unless you need to get yourself out of it and you're unsafe. But it's a good idea to pause when you notice you're no longer operating in that part of your brain, because what good is your amygdala going to do for your relationship in this conflict other than do some really base like protection stuff, or what it thinks it's protecting you with.
Most importantly.
Usually not actually helpful in the conflict. So the question I've noticed in my own experience and the people I work with is how can we notice sooner that we're in fight or flight or about to be in it? 2, how can we do some self-regulatory practices? And then 3, my favorite, co-regulation practices. Yeah. Because imagine one person yelling to the other, you need to calm down. Well, it's like, obviously the person who yelled it also needs to calm down.
Totally.
So both people doing what they can internally to quote unquote calm down and change, like you said, the blood flow, the attention, and the breathing patterns to return themselves to the part of themselves that can resolve the conflict much better, is more equipped to be doing that. Yeah.
Totally.
And that's great because that circles back to this whole premise of empowerment, like self-empowerment. And that is how we as individuals can actually position ourselves to be in our power in some of the most challenging parts of our lives.
Yeah.
And that we're not just, like a tree in the wind, that we have no control over what's about to happen. It's just we're just going to get blown around by the emotional storm that's about to happen. And it's like, well, that's actually not true.
Yeah.
It isn't easy. And in the beginning, trying to apply it is maybe the hardest part, is even to find the point where you actually stop and go like, oh, wait, this might be where I should try to breathe right now.
Exactly.
But once that happens, that's like toehold that all of a sudden you can build off of. And it takes time because we are all different in how we process and integrate. And one person might remember like the next time something challenging happens in the relationship, go, oh, right, we're gonna pause here and take a breath. And then it might take me 30, 40 years to remember that I should try that once.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's there for us to apply. And I think that's what we get a chance to try to offer to our audience today. And I'm excited about that.
I would love to share. There's 2 breathing techniques. They're along the similar, they sit at the same table, but they are designed to actually take our nervous system out of fight or flight. Because, one of my favorite examples is when somebody cuts you off and you're driving. What happens to your body? Like, are you immediately spewing vitriol, at that driver? Does your body tense up? Does your stomach get a pit in it, or all of the above? Does that affect the rest of your day? When something goes wrong, how long does that affect you? These are good questions. The first and simpler version of the breathing techniques is it simply has to do with the ratio of breath in to breath out. It's 1 to 2. However long you breathe in. Oh, also, if you're listening and you want to practice this, please don't do it while driving or operating heavy machinery. Wait a little bit, find a quiet place, and try it on the couch.
Replay the podcast
Yeah. Yes. With friends.
with friends.
But when we deliberately control our exhale, it actually, forgive me for not being able to talk about the specific science. Maybe you can help me behind this, but it actually brings us back into control of our nervous system versus it being in control of us when we're in fight or flight. Because fight or flight, you probably hear it all the time, but the way it translates for me is when I often go right into flight. I want to get as far away from whatever negative stimulus is going on as possible. I'll remove myself from the situation. I'll isolate. That's the flight, if anybody's wondering exactly what those are. But ask yourself what it feels like if you want to get away from something. You're probably in flight. But if you're feeling these things, you can practice this 2-to-1 breathing ratio where however long you're breathing in, you double the exhale length. So if you breathe in, a nice, big, comfortable, full diaphragmatic breath into your belly, that means into your belly, not into your chest. It's also important to pay attention where your breath goes, because if you're breathing just into your chest, you're not getting enough oxygen. If you ever feel short of breath, like you can't ever get a full breath, that's probably what's going on, is you're just breathing into your chest. So fill your belly up when you breathe. And if you breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 8. This is a shorter version of my favorite breathing technique, which is just the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Have you guys heard of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would like to practice that now.
Okay.
Could I lead us through 4 rounds of 4-7-8?
Sure.
We'll explain what that is first to the audience. Yeah.
Absolutely. So 4-7-8 is simply the amount of time you do 3 things. 4 is how many seconds you breathe in. 7 is how many seconds you hold your breath. And 8 is how many seconds you exhale. The 4 and 8 is just the 1-to-2 ratio. The 4-7-8 is with a 7-second hold. And this is a tried and true method to calm your nervous system down, to get out of sympathetic and into your parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic is your fight or flight. Parasympathetic is called rest and digest. It's a much easier place to be. So if we might, I love just doing 4 rounds of it. You can do this when you're at work. You can duck around a corner and just do this. It takes all of 4 + 7 + 8 times 4. So that's maybe like a minute and a half. I don't forgive my lack of math there, but can we try now?
Yeah, let's do it.
So go ahead and exhale, let all your air out, and just take a normal breath. And then exhale again. And once you're done exhaling, take a nice, full, deep diaphragmatic breath for 4 seconds in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Round 2. Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Round 3. Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Final round. Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How do you feel?
Lovely.
Yeah.
What did you notice in your body?
I have this like kind of settling experience, or kind of sinking, softening, and like a density, but not it's not a negative sense of density. It's just like a congealing or solidifying, maybe is a better way to put it.
Yeah. Sounds grounding.
Yeah.
Focusing in a great way in that it turns off a lot of other thought and mental chatter because you're focusing very closely on the breath and what it feels like to fill your lungs in 4 seconds and what it feels like to empty them in 8. So you're like really present with the physical sensation. And I noticed that my mental chatter quieted quite a bit, and I was just really envisioning my dog and playing with her. So it's like, oh, happy thoughts had space to come in, and that was very calming.
Nice.
I love that. Yeah, it's not going to change what's happening in the world, right? Like your problems will still be there, but you can be empowered to think about and deal with those problems in a different way by grounding yourself like that.
Yes.
By calming your own nervous system down. And you can do that anytime. You can do that as many times as you want in a day. You could do 4 rounds, you could do 1 round, you could do 4 rounds, you could do 100 rounds. And just get down.
Right. And I think the piece for me, as I was just listening to you, what kind of popped up in my head was like this empowerment thing. That is a result of, for me, of having greater resource. Like, because I'm more present, because I'm more centered, because I'm more grounded, I have more resource. I have more capacity to access myself, my innate strengths, what my power, whatever my innate power is. Like, that's how I'm empowered, is because I have resource to actually access that part of myself that I didn't have access to before.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's a great lie in society, and if you really want to know the truth, if you're listening to this, if you want to know the truth, is you do have what it takes. You are capable. You can get through this, and you can find greener pastures because they're in you. This just lets you do that for yourself. So don't listen to the media or society or any of it that says you're not good enough or not strong enough or not rich enough. That's all a lie. You are enough.
Yeah, I love that tool helps you access the version of yourself that's capable. And it's a great reminder of like, oh, right, that part of myself, look at me doing it. And you feel more confident and empowered. I think when we're in a state of fight or flight or freeze or fawn, the other elements of that, obviously, we're in a bit of a disempowered state. I think they can serve us in some situations, but most of our modern day situations where we do go into fight or flight, it's actually detrimental to the solution finding and problem solving that we need to do about it, especially in relationships. If I were to make an example using my relationship with my dog, for example, for context, she's a new rescue and is extremely quick to be emotionally flooded and dysregulated. She's very anxious, fearful, and has not had context of somebody being a grounding, guiding presence. So she's ran around in fear in the streets or in partial human connection at times. And when she came to me, I was like, oh my gosh, it is so hard to manage her. And I need to keep her safe, but that requires me giving her commands or guidance. And if she doesn't know how to receive that from me, how can I give it? And I noticed that in times where she was being unsafe or potentially unsafe, and I was getting dysregulated because I'm so concerned about her and I feel out of control of the situation, I can't communicate to this dog. She doesn't have a language yet with me. And therefore, I would be impatient, frustrated, sometimes even angry. And I'm like, I know I'm projecting my human expectations onto this animal who knows nothing of what I'm trying to do and why. But I need to get her on board. I need to get her enrolled in the current moment plan, which may have some high stakes. Things are dire and kind of quick. We need to get to a certain state of being. And so I realized there's actually a book called Your Dog is Your Mirror. And it's so true. We become really synchronized with each other's nervous systems. And that resonance, it can be positive or negative. So her stress made me stressed. And I'm sure she's picking up on my stress, making her more stressed. And we're not achieving what we need to achieve, which is calmness, particularly because she had heartworm disease. And the treatment for it required really strict calmness for 2 months because getting any excitement or stress would potentially cause a piece of a dying heartworm to break off from the wall of the heart and cause a fatal embolism. So I was like, I need to calm you down real fast, and it's a matter of life and death. And I can't communicate that to you. Oh my God, it caused me so much stress. So I was like, wait, in order for me to calm her down, I need to calm myself down first. It was so zen. And I realized, like, okay, I need to get quicker at recognizing when I'm in my fight or flight anger, essentially, or impatience, or just some level of distress I couldn't even name. Okay, once I can recognize that, then it's time to be like, turn inward. All right, what can I do to chill myself out? Ooh, the breathing, absolutely. Just taking a big breath and taking a little more time to let it out. Eliminating anything else that seems to be demanding my attention. Like if I'm carrying a bunch of stuff, put it down. If there's noise that's amping my dog up from my roommate, close my door. Just immediately pare the situation down as simply as possible. And reduce my sound, movement, any expressions of my stress. So I would just sit calmly and breathe and be like, hey, you're doing okay, boo. Like speak in a softer tone, because she would be in a panic attack, basically, way too elevated, stress, confused, and does not know how to calm herself down. So she's running around and can't pay attention to anything. But once she noticed, like, whoa, Meg got really grounded there, she started to tune into that and come up to me inquisitively. Like I interpreted it as looking for some guidance, because if she can't ground herself, I need to ground myself in order to ground her. And we developed a language over the past couple months of how to do that, and it's become more and more effective. And it's made me such a believer in fill your own cup first, because she could mirror that as soon as she noticed it. And I can't fake it. If I try to be still, but I'm still distressed, if I can't talk in a soft, calming voice to calm my dog down, if there's really an undertone of distress still happening. So it's got to be real. So I've got to do a good job of chilling myself out. And it has become very effective. Yeah. It's transformed everything between us. Yeah.
I get it.
And using the same principle in romantic relationships. If you're in the middle of a conflict with your partner and you feel yourself getting amped up, maybe you're talking faster, you're gesturing more intensely, you're maybe talking over them at times, your body language is getting antsy, like there's an intensity rising, maybe within you or both of you, to de-escalate before the conflict becomes damaging to the connection, is recognizing, oh, that thing's happening again. I'm in fight or flight. And everyone has their own symptoms to notice it, but it could be like tingles in the shoulders or chest, maybe intense body language with tension or heat. Heat in the middle of the chest is a common one.
Tension.
Yeah. And so, okay, I can recognize that. That means I need to turn inwards and get myself in alignment before we can continue this. Yeah.
One question that came up too, just around fostering awareness, is there, at certain times in my life, I have felt when I was in conflict, I had the thoughts, well, if this person didn't do this, then I wouldn't feel this way. Or if they would just. And what I realized, I was completely discluding all of the self-regulatory parts. So a good question to ask in order to foster awareness is, are you in the belief that all of your feelings are because of someone else? Yes, people do things, but kind of a hard pill to swallow is the way we feel about it is actually our responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to discredit like actual victim situations, but in common day-to-day, relational conflict, it is 100%, our worldview and the meaning we assign to these things is on us. So self-regulation is how you can start to heal a relationship. So, and combat victim mentality, which I think is really powerful. So where, are you blaming someone for the way you feel, or are you asking why you feel the way you do in those situations? I like to ask myself those questions.
Yep. I have a kind of a similar story to yours, but it involves my son. And so listening to you, and having the background that I have with horses, that was one thing that worked really well with horses too. Is
such sensitive beings.
Yeah. And when I became a single father and I first started having my son by myself, getting him to sleep was brutal. He wouldn't go to sleep. And then I would get anxious and stressed and upset because I was judging myself, and I was fearful about how his mother would judge me and how he's not getting what he needs and I'm a bad father and all this stuff. And I don't remember what triggered the awareness of what you came to this awareness around how to relate with your dog. But I used to do all these things to try to get him in bed and to get him to settle down and make him be still and all these things. And he wouldn't stay on the bed and he would crawl around and do all these things. And
Sounds like my dog.
Yeah, exactly. And then I don't remember what triggered it. And I was like, this isn't working. And I just went into centering myself and going into my breath. And it was almost like a magic trick. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, like what happened. Like, after I really did it for myself and got really clear, like this, I'm not making this better. I'm probably making it worse. And like you said, like taking responsibility. Like I started to take responsibility. Oh my God, I am so anxious right now. There's no way that this could work. And the tension was what I had, like this intense like tension in my chest. And I just stopped. And I started to breathe, and I didn't care. I let go of whatever he was doing. He was in the bedroom. He was safe, right? And I started to breathe. And after maybe 2 minutes, I think it was probably about 2 minutes, he got back in the bed and laid down.
Amazing.
I was just like, oh my God. Like, that was, I don't know, was that more me? Was I the cause of all of that? And I was able to duplicate that. And it was just amazing. And it's such a lesson of realizing like how important the way I am makes, in particular, like a dog who's very reliant on you for survival, or a child at a very, at 2.5 years old. It's completely reliant on, in this case, on me for survival. And like, I'm the problem. I was actually the problem there, and realizing it and seeing how I could alter that. And it's just been so crazy to see how impactful something like that can be.
One thing that came up for me is I used to struggle with sleep a lot. I would wake up in the middle of the night and then immediately my mind would start going a million miles an hour. And I would start to get stressed about not getting enough sleep, which would make me not be able to sleep.
Sure.
Naturally.
And then I found it doesn't always work, but it works more often than not, is when I go, well, F it. I'm going to be sleepy tomorrow. And I just let go of trying to fall asleep. I'll fall asleep.
Right.
You reach a state of acceptance.
Yep.
Acceptance. Yeah, because, we might have said it last time, and I know it comes up, but resistance. Resistance is a huge part of our suffering. And whatever we resist will persist. So as soon as I was like, well, I'm just going to be up, conk out.
Yeah, our brains are really funny things. Yeah. how they work.
I have a suggestion for a tool that is maybe one for the more intellectual types. This one's not somatic. If you want to use your brain for this one, is writing an agreement. The way that I did this most successfully was in a recent relationship where we co-wrote a set of conflict agreements. We had relationship agreements, right? But then we also had conflict agreements that were like a chapter of that. And so it was like, as soon as you notice you're kind of getting dysregulated in whatever way, name it and call a timeout. And then we had like how to call a timeout with kindness, right? Like try not to interrupt, or saying like, hey, we need to take a break for our own, mutual well-being, and include your return time. Like, let's set a timer for 30 minutes. And I do want to come back to this conflict. And maybe even ideally a little olive branch of hope with it, like some positivity. I think we can figure this one out. We just need a break. Or I still love you. I'm mad right now. But, that kind of stuff can be so calming to the other person. It's incredible. Even just a bit of one sentence. And so having conflict agreements really helped keep things within the lanes. If you think about bowling, it just kind of kept us corralled in a place of a more ethical engagement in battle. There were some things we agreed were not allowed, obviously, name calling or slamming doors, but some more subtle ones, like some people we'll use sort of thought terminating cliches or phrases that are like, well, whatever, or like, fine, I don't even care.
Yeah.
Don't say those. How does that help? It's not. So there was like a series of things that were co-created that were for the betterment of our challenges that we went through. And I'm so glad that we did it. And it was really helpful. And I recommend everyone sit down and maybe do this exercise separately and then bring together your answers. Like, okay, if I were to write a conflict agreement, here's what I would like for us both to agree to, and then compare and contrast and revise so that they fit together. And have it in like a shared note on your phone or on your fridge or something.
Or in a lot of places.
Reference it.
Framed.
Right? Revise it over time. Totally. And then my second piece to this is to do that, but just within yourself. So it could apply to road rage or frustration with your dog or your boss or your kid or whatever. My conflict agreements with myself is notice, take the time out, do a breathing exercise, go to a different room, take a walk around the building. Like any little thing I know, listen to my favorite song on headphones. Like if I'm overstimulated, what do I need to do to like quiet all the incoming stimuli? And that helps me ground. So if we can all have our own conflict agreement or even just self-regulation agreements, am I getting dysregulated? Is this fight or flight? What do I do? What's the if-then decision chart?
And that goes back to the tools
Yeah.
here. Like hopefully something that you hear today is one of those things you could be like,
Yes.
oh yeah, when I'm feeling dysregulated, I'm going to try that.
Yeah, build your own agreement using these tools.
In rehab, they had us, we could not leave rehab without having a plan for what happened when we started to crave.
Ooh, yes.
Mine was alcohol. So like what happens when I get stressed and want to drink? We would write down a plan.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to do. These are the people you're going to call. Like, this is the God you're going to pray to. Like, this is what you're going to do. And have this with you, carry it around. Because it's
your
easy
guide.
and fun to say. But when you're in the thick of something, what's the quote? No plan. Everybody's cool until they get punched in the face.
I like that. I've never.
It's like Mike Tyson or something, Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, and then it's really easy for it to just all go away, because when we get sucked right back into that, nervous system fight-flight response, it doesn't feel normal because it's not normal. Those centers of the brain are suppressed and shut down. So it can be really difficult, and we can feel a victim to those feelings and say, this is too much for me, and give up. But what you were talking about earlier about how these emotional practices are like physical practices. You don't go to the gym. I love this analogy. I've said it several times, but it's like you don't go to the gym on day one and end up looking swole. Right? You do. If it's your first time doing a push-up, you do a push-up and you literally feel like you're dying.
Right.
It feels uncomfortable. You feel like you're in pain. You feel like you broke something and you don't want to do it anymore. That's what emotional practice feels like. That's what staying calm in a situation where you're used to reacting feels like. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel natural in the beginning.
Right.
But if we can catch it and then do something, interject a different practice, interject a walk or a breathing technique, that's like doing a push-up. And if you do it once, you might not do it every time, but if you think about doing it, the more you do it, the easier it is to do. And then before you know it, you're doing it automatically. Once I start to go into fight or flight, I'll start to just automatically slow my breathing down. I've noticed that in myself. But it wasn't like that at first.
Right.
It's a great metaphor.
And that's actually a perfect segue to lead into what I have to offer, which specifically is entitled mental fitness. So just like you were talking about how our bodies work and how we strengthen our bodies in the gym through repetition, our brain works the same way.
You have way more to offer than just this technique. I just want to say that.
No, in this moment.
Okay.
Thank you. So mental fitness looks like and will feel like what it means to exercise your body, but we're going to be exercising our brain. And the purpose of these exercises, or the reason why we want to build our mental fitness, is so that we start to have the capacity to direct our mind instead of be at the mercy of what our brain wants to do and force us to have to fall. In a sense, we're out of choices when we're stressed or under-resourced or struggling for whatever reason. And so by building mental fitness, we're actually building our capacity to direct our brain instead of have to be just a victim of whatever our brain wants us to do. And so a mental fitness practice is kind of like a meditation. Breath could be part of it, but it's about awareness is really what it is, and having, to the best of our ability, laser focused awareness. And so the more we can focus our awareness and hold our awareness, that's the strength that we want to build, because the more capacity we have to direct and hold our awareness, the more capacity we have to direct our brain, our mind, as opposed to let it direct us. And so what it looks like and sounds like is being guided. What I'm going to do in this moment, I'm going to guide you, but you can actually guide yourself to do the same practice that I'm going to guide you. So the first thing to do is get seated in your chair. Ideally, put your feet on the floor, because that's going to come into the practice. And straighten your spine and feel your head sitting square up above your shoulders, so you're in alignment. Go ahead and close your eyes. And just take a breath or two, find yourself, just notice everything. And then I'm going to ask you to just follow the direction I give you with your awareness, and just keep bringing your awareness to what I'm directing you. And the way it's going to work is I'm going to offer you something to become aware of, and we're going to hold our awareness there for a moment, and then I'm going to ask you to bring your awareness somewhere else. Okay? So let's just start by noticing as we breathe, we just feel how our body moves with each in-breath and out-breath. Now bring your awareness to your seat and notice the connection between you and whatever you're sitting on. Maybe notice what it feels like, the weight of your body resting on whatever you're sitting. Now wiggle your toes and try to see if you can feel all 10 of your toes. Now tense all the muscles in your legs. And relax. Now listen and see what's the sound you can hear farthest away. And now listen to the sound that you can hear that's closest to you. And if you haven't already, listen to the sound of your breath. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Just take a moment and notice what your experience feels like. And then notice, as you look around, what does your vision look like? Does your vision feel any different? And that's what a mental fitness practice looks like, sounds like, and feels like. And the teaching around this is to actually develop the mental fitness, the actual strength. You do these mental fitness reps multiple times a day. The guidance is at least 3 for 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Not a really long period of time. But if you build a routine, what you will see in a week, in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks is a drastic change in your ability to direct your mind. And it's a super powerful tool to then apply when we find ourselves really challenged by, you named, like, you rattled off a bunch of things, relationship, work, children, projects, all of those things, bills, finances. Like when you're really being pulled down by those things, and we talked about the noticing is the first step, is being able to notice and identify, like, or label, like, oh, I'm X. And then that's the moment that you go, and now I'm going to use my mental fitness. And so then you go into that practice. You do that practice. Again, it could just be 2 minutes, 5 minutes. I mean, you don't need to do it more than 10 minutes. But when you've built your mental fitness up and then you're under stress and you bring it in, it completely has the ability to shift how you're experiencing whatever is in front of you, whatever you're dealing with. It's really powerful.
Can I just say, I could listen to you do that for 30 minutes, like direct my attention to all kinds of sensory elements that are happening all the time. But the minute that we focus on just one, and I imagine your experience was similar, the other ones fade away. When you were like, wiggle your toes, I'm like, oh, right, I have toes.
Yeah.
Like my focus wasn't there until you directed it. And I think you could take people on a journey.
Oh, totally. Yeah. There's so many ways you can do this. I mean, one of the ones we were taught was put your hands under your nose and feel your breath. Feel the warmth of the exhale of your breath. Feel the coolness of the inhale of your breath. It's just, it's like unlimited. It's like, how creative can you be?
We would take a raisin and roll it around in our fingers. We did this in rehab.
Yeah.
How often are you actually paying attention to how you're feeling?
You do that. You can actually do that without the raisin and bring your attention and try to feel the texture of your fingertips. It's endless what you can do. But
Bringing
it's
your
really,
awareness back.
It's all about directing your awareness so that when your brain is pulling you someplace that's really like painful, you can be like, oh no, I don't have to let that happen. I can do this practice.
Yeah.
And then there's actually more to this work. Like once you do, so the process is to identify. So that's an interruption of the neural pathway. Then you fully break the patterning by doing the mental fitness practice. And then the third aspect to this is actually then choosing an action that you're going to take because now you have access to these higher functioning parts of your brain that you didn't have when you were before. Like you were talking about the physiological part where your prefrontal cortex is shut down. It's no longer shut down.
And you re-access your choice.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, that's what comes is choice. And so then you get into the ability to start discerning, which you couldn't do before because your brain, that part of your brain is inaccessible. So it's really potent about how this practice works. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
Like I've actually worked with people who have severe anxiety, and it probably took about 6 months, and this person was drastically a different person because every time they noticed they were anxious, they just did the mental fitness practice. And it was really rewarding. Like I had a chance to meet this person's partner, and they were like, "What did you do to him?" It was really cool. And I'm like, wow, if I could do that, because I was like making it up at that point. I was like, I know how this works. I've never actually applied it here, but it makes sense. Like, why shouldn't this work? And I went through this routine and taught all this to this person. I was impressed with how effective it was, and this person mostly was doing it for themselves because I had taught them what I just showed you guys, and then they were doing it 3 times a day or more for themselves. And then they were able to recognize when they got anxious. Oh, yeah, their thing was they got anxious because they started to get into a story. So they started recognizing when they were in story, and they would stop the story and go into the mental fitness practice. That's what it was, and that's what changed everything.
That's really powerful to recognize the story we tell ourselves about what we're feeling and why. That's the next step in decoupling these things, because one thing that really changed the way I practiced was learning that the brain it's super efficient, right? It wants to help us think. And when we repeat a thought or a feeling, the brain via neural connections makes it easier to think those thoughts and feel those feelings.
Right.
So interrupting it like that and interjecting something different does. We are literally, these aren't just
and it's
woo-woo ideas.
No,
These
that's
are
based in actual neuroscience research and
rewiring
proving,
the brain.
like with functional MRI,
Yeah.
like showing like how the brain changes because we're doing something like that. Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
I love that. I feel really calm, and when I open my eyes, everything looked really vibrant.
Yes. Yeah. I forgot to ask you to comment, but a lot of times the two answers are that or the field of view is bigger, is what most people say. Yeah.
Well, a little change in perspective can make a huge difference. That's a little bit of a tangential thought,
Right,
but just in life,
Right.
the way we see things. How often do you actually look at what's in front of you instead of compare it to what you wish it would be?
Right. Yeah.
So I think for co-regulatory practices, if you are in conflict with a partner, if we're to think about romantic relationships particularly, let's say you have your conflict agreements already, and one of the conflict agreements, in my opinion, should involve a co-regulation exercise in some way. And I have this worksheet that I give my coaching clients that is like basically a menu and then a how to use this menu for all the possible co-regulation techniques you could do with your partner. So familiarize yourself with it in times of not being dysregulated, try out the activities together. And then in the moment, let's say one of your conflict agreements is after our 30 minutes apart to self-regulate, we're going to choose one from this menu and do it together. And maybe have a sub-agreement about if you don't like the one your partner suggests, offer a different one instead of just rejecting what's being proffered. So you pick one together. Let's say it's eye gazing, and you agree how long you're going to do it. If there's any add-ons you want to do, like synchronized breathing or holding hands or whatever, or listening to a song that means something to both of you. And then as part of your agreement, you're going to do the thing. Now, a lot of times you're stuck on the fact that our conflict is still unresolved. You might still be a little upset and wanting a solution soon. And so it's hard to drag yourself to the table to do these exercises together. But you need to have faith that they will better equip both of you to have creative and collaborative solution finding later. So it's like, all right, I'm so mad and I kind of want to punch this person in the face. And I think they're a big dum-dum and I don't even know if I should be in this relationship. And like you have all your escape mechanisms and blame and stories happening. And you're like, okay, I'm going to let those be there in the background, but I'm going to be really present in this moment for the activity we agreed on. And maybe I'll do it through gritted teeth at first. I'm going to eye gaze and I'm going to want to glare. I'm not going to glare, but I'm mad. But we're going to eye gaze and like let the experience unfold on its own timing. I know it's like, oh, be patient, but like we're not in a Zen state, we're pissed. So we can reach the Zen state, even if we're starting from a pissed state, that's okay. But trust that you'll eventually at least get partway there. You may not be like, we're both enlightened after 5 minutes of eye gazing. I'm not mad at all.
This is powerful stuff.
Right. But I almost every time I'm able to do that kind of thing. And then you reflect after you did the thing, how are you feeling now? Oh, like, and mention like, I feel like we could have a slower conversation about this now. Or I was able to access love for you that was inaccessible when I was mad, and that's the goal, is really just to reach a place of remembering why we're doing this in the first place and why it's valuable to do conflict well, because we care so much about the well-being of the connection that we're willing to put aside our ego or our rightness or any resistances to doing the practice. Nobody should be dragging their partner into doing one they're not ready for or don't feel as aligned, or to weaponize it in a like, well, I feel really Zen right now. Why didn't you feel calm after eye gazing? Like, oh my God.
That's helpful.
Do these with someone who is a well-intended and like argues in good faith partner. Right. But they can so often bring us back into a state, not because, oh, I did breathing in the presence of someone else. So we did the same thing at the same time, and often involving some interaction, whether it's touch or the energetic interaction of eye contact. And so you'll notice that people's heartbeats can synchronize and other aspects. I bet if somebody was measuring micro changes in body language, if one person can relax a little bit, I bet the other one's going to relax in another way. Like you see their shoulders drop or their face soften or they're breathing slow, something like that. And trust that there's more of these things happening than we're consciously aware of. So maybe the pathway into that resonant state is eye gazing, but there's going to be a cascade of other things that come with it that we're not conscious of and that are all supportive and additive to our ultimate goal of peace and eliminating the mutual suffering of the conflict that's happening.
Actually, so there has been research done.
Oh, I'm sure,
It's called, you've heard of mirror neurons.
Yes.
It's what mirror neurons will do.
Exactly.
So
Beautiful.
if somebody actually does soften in their body, we unconsciously tend to mirror that. And then physiologically, that will change our internal experience. Yeah. So that is powerful.
How was that 55 minutes?
I know. We're running out of time.
What?
Again.
Well, we didn't even get to your meditation practice.
Well, I mean, I picked ones that were most relevant to our conversation today.
Oh, okay. So you feel like you got to share
Something relative to what you... Okay, good.
Okay, good.
Because it was self-regulation and co-regulation and like why that brings us into a state of more empowerment because we're no longer subject to the disempowered state of being at the mercy of our amygdala.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we can be more tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. I wish we had an audience because I would love to do questions right now.
Yeah.
That would feel really
We
potent.
can phone in. That was in the class I took. There are buttons for that. We can totally have guests over the phone.
We'll have to figure that out. But that feels like it would be like it just feels really rich like that. Like right
I'd
now.
love to be a panel and have people call and be like, I'm
people
dealing
call,
with this.
like, okay, now can you clarify this or something? Yeah, that would be really fun.
Well, our usual practice for closing is to express gratitude. Are we ready?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel very gracious right now.
Yeah, I needed the little bit of meditation. That felt really good today.
Same.
Yeah, I'm really grateful having shared that mental fitness practice because it's something that I got trained in. It's been many years now, and I haven't recently utilized it, and it was really fun to do that and to experience the two of you afterwards. Like it really enriched me. Like to see like the two of your faces and like the looks on your faces was really like, oh yeah, this works. I love it.
Yep, it does
Yeah,
work.
I'm
It
super
really
grateful
does.
for how that, like what I experienced with the two of you.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about these topics because they bring them back up into my forefront of my mind. And when I need to use them in contexts that I don't always think they apply, but it's like, no, they apply. Yeah.
I feel really grateful for the subject matter for today because I've been in a very dysregulated state for like a month straight now. And I feel like I'm in kind of a nervous system crash. So I was super tired on the way here today, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to show up for this? And now I don't feel like that.
Nice.
I just feel really grateful that I got to sit here for an hour and talk to you guys. It sort of feels like I'm talking to friends.
We are friends.
We are friends.
It's like I miss that feeling because I do have a lot of aloneness in my life, and it just feels incredibly nourishing to talk to people that are conscious and willing to be curious and are trying to help and are just open to discussing things that hurt and how we deal with it. Because for me, it creates a huge sense of community, and that is very much medicine for me.
Well, that's
So thank
perfect
you.
because that circles right back to what we were talking about, relationships. Like community is relationships. So well done, Ryan.
Thanks, you guys.
Beautiful. Well, until next time. Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you guys.
Keep
Thank
track
you.
of your breath.
Yeah.
You're worth it.
Yeah. Please take any of the things we've shared and play with them.
Yeah.
I would feel very honored.
Don't worry if doing a push-up hurts. It does. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
All right. Love y'all.